In sports, greatness often casts a long shadow. In the 1973 Kentucky Derby, Sham ran the race of his life, covering the mile and a quarter faster than every Derby winner before him and every Derby winner since. Under almost any other circumstances, it would have been remembered as one of the greatest performances in horse racing history. The problem was that Sham happened to run against Secretariat. History remembers Secretariat. Few remember Sham. Boxing has its own version of that story. In March of 1950, an undefeated Rocky Marciano entered the ring with a record of 25-0, hailed as the heavyweight division's next great hope. Standing across from him was another unbeaten heavyweight, whose 37-0 record was even more impressive. Over 10 fiercely contested rounds, he pushed Marciano to the brink before losing a razor-thin split decision. History remembers Marciano. Too few remember. Roland LaStarza's story began on May 12, 1927, in the Bronx, far from the bright lights of Madison Square Garden that would one day define his career. He was raised above his parents' modest grocery store and butcher shop, the son of hard-working Italian immigrants who measured success not in headlines, but in long hours and honest labor. As a boy, Roland was expected to pull his weight. He swept floors, helped his father cut meat, and made deliveries of sugar, flour, and salt to neighborhood customers. It was the kind of upbringing that built strong backs and stronger character, yet there was little to suggest that the quiet youngster hauling grocery sacks would someday become one of boxing's top-ranked heavyweights. Raleigh was always the timid one, his father said. He was always afraid to hurt anybody. For someone who would make his living with his fists, it was an unlikely beginning. If boxing had a doorway into Roland's life, it was opened by his older brother, Jerry. A promising middleweight, Jerry gave Raleigh his first boxing lessons in the basement of their family home before taking him to train at the neighborhood CYO. Their time together in the gym was brief. With World War II raging, Jerry left to become a P-51 Mustang fighter pilot, leaving Roland to continue developing on his own. At Christopher Columbus High School, LaStarza proved to be more than just a boxer. He was a gifted all-around athlete whose coordination and discipline translated naturally to the ring. In 1945, LaStarza appeared to have fallen just short of the Intercity Golden Gloves Light Heavyweight Championship, dropping a controversial decision in the tournament final. Weeks later, however, his opponent admitted he had already fought 3 professional bouts, making him ineligible for amateur competition. The revelation overturned the result, and LaStarza quietly received the winner's trophy in the mail. After graduating from high school, LaStarza enrolled at the City College of New York, where he studied physical education and played varsity lacrosse before entering the Army. Military service interrupted his athletic ambitions, but it did not diminish them. When he returned home in the summer of 1947, LaStarza made the decision that would shape the rest of his life. He would become a professional fighter. He entrusted his future to manager Jimmy Fats D'Angelo and veteran trainer Dan Florio. Florio already enjoyed a solid reputation after helping guide Jersey Joe Walcott. D'Angelo's resume, however, was far less impressive. Though he had managed fighters for years, his success had been modest, largely because he lacked the political connections that often mattered as much as talent itself. LaStarza never cared. He was like a father to me, LaStarza said. I couldn't ask for a better manager. There isn't another manager who would do for his fighter what he's done for me. The loyalty ran both ways. More than once, D'Angelo borrowed money simply to cover LaStarza's training expenses and keep his career alive. At one point, believing a better connected manager could move LaStarza faster, D'Angelo even considered selling his interest in the young heavyweight. LaStarza refused to hear of it. Together, they would navigate boxing's unforgiving politics and carry LaStarza from a grocery store in the Bronx to a shot at the heavyweight championship of the world. Success did little to change LaStarza's quiet demeanor outside the ring, but it did foster an unusual collection of pre-fight rituals. Like many fighters searching for every possible edge, LaStarza became intensely superstitious. In the days leading up to a bout, he refused to brush his teeth. On fight day, he wouldn't allow anyone to kiss him. Moments before walking to the ring, his father would rub a rusty nail across his back in the dressing room, a ritual LaStarza believed brought him luck. Whether the rituals mattered or not, the victories kept coming. In September of 1948, LaStarza passed his first real test by outpointing Don Mogard. 3 months later, he demonstrated another side of his character. After twice being knocked to the canvas by Gene Gosney, LaStarza battled back to score a stoppage victory. His ascent continued at a steady pace. Sports writers quickly embraced the Bronx heavyweight as something different. Unlike many fighters of the era, LaStarza was college-educated, articulate, and soft-spoken. Newspaper stories routinely pointed out his intelligence, impeccable manners, and mild disposition, qualities rarely associated with men who earned their living trading punches. By February of 1949, the undefeated LaStarza had become a headliner at Madison Square Garden. Promoters hailed him as one of boxing's brightest young heavyweights and a legitimate future champion. Not everyone was convinced. Critics argued that his unbeaten record had been built against ordinary opposition, and they wondered how he would respond when finally matched with elite competition. Those doubts only intensified when Walter Hafer, a journeyman, dropped LaStarza before the unbeaten heavyweight regained control and stopped him. 2 months later came an even more troubling performance. Facing Cesar Brillon at Madison Square Garden, LaStarza won the decision but lost the crowd. Fans showered the ring with boos after watching what many considered a cautious, uninspired performance. The bout had been promoted as an opportunity to prove LaStarza was the natural heir to Joe Louis. Instead, critics branded him overly careful and lacking the aggression expected of a heavyweight champion. Some writers went even further, suggesting that if LaStarza represented the division's future, then the heavyweight class itself had fallen on hard times. Those questions would finally be answered on March 24, 1950. LaStarza entered the ring with a perfect 37-0 record to face another undefeated prospect, a rugged puncher from Brockton, Massachusetts, named Rocky Marciano. Marciano was 25-0, but bookmakers made LaStarza a slight 6-5 favorite, believing his polished boxing skills and superior experience would neutralize Marciano's relentless aggression. For 3 rounds, it appeared they might be right. Marciano pressed forward from the opening bell, but LaStarza's sharper jab, cleaner combinations, and clever counterpunching allowed him to dictate much of the early action. Then, in the 4th round, everything changed. A looping overhand right crashed into LaStarza's jaw, sending him sprawling to the canvas. He rose at the count of 7 just before the bell, but the momentum had shifted. From that point on, Marciano's relentless pressure began to take its toll. He repeatedly found LaStarza's nose with heavy punches and battered him with short uppercuts and hooks whenever they fought at close range. LaStarza remained composed, using his footwork and boxing ability to survive the storm, but he was forced onto the defensive far more than he preferred. In the 8th round, Marciano appeared to seize complete control before repeated low blows prompted referee Jack Watson to penalize him, costing the Brockton slugger the round. LaStarza mounted one final rally in the 10th, desperately trying to steal the decision, but Marciano closed the fight the stronger man, landing the cleaner punches during the final minutes. When the bell sounded, the outcome was anything but certain. The judges split their scorecards. One awarded the fight to LaStarza, 5-4 in rounds with 1 even. Another scored it for Marciano by the same margin. Referee Jack Watson gave each fighter 5 rounds, but broke the deadlock by awarding Marciano the decision on points. It remained one of the closest victories of Marciano's career and one of the most painful defeats of LaStarza's. "I was sure as income taxes that I beat him," LaStarza said afterward. LaStarza and his manager D'Angelo never stopped campaigning for another shot at Rocky Marciano. They insisted the first fight had been too close, too controversial, to be left unsettled. The public wasn't nearly as convinced. 7 months after the Marciano defeat, LaStarza outpointed Giulio Spagnolo, but the victory did little to improve his standing. Restless fans began booing as early as the 4th round, frustrated by what they considered an overly cautious performance. One newspaper columnist remarked that both fighters should have been awarded a cheese plaque for having attained the height of athletic futility in their stinkeroo of a fight. The criticism grew louder with each passing bout. One writer christened him Reluctant Roland, convinced that his greatest weakness wasn't his chin or his conditioning, but his unwillingness to press the attack. Veteran columnist Bill Corum delivered perhaps the harshest assessment. "I've never seen a great heavyweight that wasn't vicious," Corum wrote. "What is he doing in a game in which he isn't going to win?" LaStarza heard the criticism. He promised to become a more aggressive fighter, but it simply wasn't his nature. Instead, he continued compiling victories over largely unremarkable opposition until December of 1951, when he suffered another setback. Installed as a 4-1 favorite against Dan Bucciaroni, LaStarza was upset over 10 rounds. True to form, however, he answered the defeat with one of the finest performances of his career. 5 months later, he dominated the rematch, flooring Bucciaroni 5 times before cruising to a decisive victory. Momentum, however, proved difficult to sustain. 5 months later, journeyman Rocky Jones, who worked as a pipe fitter when he wasn't boxing, pulled off an upset. Using a stiff, accurate jab, Jones repeatedly snapped LaStarza's head back on the way to a decision victory. LaStarza blamed the loss on a lingering right-hand injury suffered during the Bucciaroni bout. But excuses meant little in boxing. What mattered was the rematch. 2 months later, LaStarza climbed off the canvas in the second round to defeat Jones over 10 rounds, erasing another blemish from his record. A hard-earned split decision over contender Rex Lane finally accomplished what years of persistence had not. It secured LaStarza a second opportunity to challenge Rocky Marciano, now the heavyweight champion of the world. Even then, opinions remained sharply divided. To admirers, LaStarza was a purist boxer whose polished footwork, crisp jab, and intelligent counterpunching recalled an earlier era. To his critics, he remained an overly cautious stylist, whose reluctance to gamble would always prevent him from becoming a great champion. Publicity man Harry Mandel tried to reshape that perception. He promoted LaStarza as another Gene Tunney, the cerebral boxer who had twice outsmarted the ferocious Jack Dempsey. The comparison was flattering, but incomplete. Tunney possessed a relentless competitive edge beneath his scholarly exterior. LaStarza, by his own admission, struggled to summon the same ruthless instinct. Trainer Dan Florio tried repeatedly to change that mindset. He never succeeded. There was some truth to it, LaStarza admitted years later. "I never really wanted to hurt anyone." Some observers even wondered whether his college education worked against him. They believed he analyzed too much, relying on thought when instinct was required. Writer W.C. Hines summed up the contrast in a few memorable words. "He was a nice kid," Hines wrote. "He was polite, but he wouldn't be a foxhole buddy. Rocky would be." LaStarza paid little attention to the doubters. He remained convinced that the second meeting with Marciano would produce a different result. "I can outbox him and I can outsmart him," LaStarza said. "I may stop him or even knock him out, probably stop him because he cuts badly." He questioned Marciano's development as a fighter. "They say he's improved," LaStarza scoffed. "I ask you, how can a crude fighter like Marciano improve?" Then came the remark that reportedly infuriated the heavyweight champion. LaStarza predicted Marciano was, quote, "going to get soft in the head or punch drunk as a result of all the blows he was taking." Whether it was gamesmanship or genuine belief hardly mattered. Marciano took the comments personally. When the two men met again on September 24, 1953, more than 44,000 fans packed the Polo Grounds in New York. Millions more followed the fight by closed-circuit television. Marciano entered the ring as a commanding 6-1 favorite.
He's got his hands high. His legs look real strong. He's backing away. He's going to do a lot of that. Watch that right hand. He counters with it real good. Don't let that newspaper stuff fool you. He punches pretty good. Missed him a mile. The guy's making me look terrible. He's 2 steps away from me all the time. Come on, close up that distance. He's up on his toes, moving good, too. This guy isn't fast, but he knows what he's doing. Settle down. You can miss him all night. Roland picks off punches with his hands. If I can belt him on the arms, the hands will come down after a while. Right now, he's not fighting hard at all. Just winning rounds. And not even exerting himself. He's going to be a tough guy later on, unless I can mess him up real fast. He jabs, moves away, jabs, ducks, moves away again. He'll have me crazy. I'm forgetting myself and throwing everything at his head. His hands are right up there waiting for me. The body, the body. That right hand hurt me. A real good shot. I've got to stay low for a second. I want to clear my head. The guy hurt me. Way low. Goldstein said he's going to take the round away because of that punch. Can't I do anything right? He's not coming off the ropes. Can't lose my head. Stick to the body. Roland, that punch wasn't low. Believe me. There, a big right. That should turn the fight. Now I've got to go. Got to make those people yell. Bring in that money. Start slugging. Counter by LaStarza. But he's staying near the ropes. Every time I see them coming up behind him, I feel good. He can't do anything good there. His best chance is in the middle of the ring. His body bent on that one. You're getting to him now. Keep swinging at him. He's right there. Let him have it. Right hand and hook. He's starting to feel it. The bell. They're talking to me different in the corner now. Nobody's yelling. Ali Colombo says the left hook is getting the job done. He's got a good eye. So let's throw more of those hooks. When LaStarza tries to get off the ropes, he turns to his right. That puts him in line for a left hook. He doesn't have that same look in his eyes either anymore. He's starting to act like maybe I got him in trouble. Both hands. Great. faked that right, then got the hook in. The guy fell for it big. Try it again. The bell. Boy. In the corner, Al Weil says one thing. Knockout. Get the knockout. You can get rich when you flatten guys. Roland's cut in 3 or 4 places. His eyes are closing. But you just don't feel sorry for a guy when you're in there fighting him. This is too tough a business. Everything is going right. I'm punching real strong. What do you call this? Come on, Ruby. Let me go on and fight. Fighting can be a business of momentum. When you're moving good on a guy, you always seem to make the right moves. But the minute you start thinking about what you're doing or what you're going to do, you can lose it all. Look at me now. I got up from that slip and I told myself, watch your balance. Don't look foolish. Got him on the ropes. He tries to get off, put my head on his chest and push him back. You can tell LaStarza is a top fighter. Look at him move. He's hurt, but he doesn't lose his head, stand still, and slug it out foolishly. A lot of fighters make that mistake. Not Roland. Now all that training is helping me. The hardest part of a fight, the late rounds, and I'm breathing easy and evenly. The legs have plenty of spring in them. The gloves don't feel heavy at all. Nothing like being in condition. I'm going to step up the pace on this guy. Keep him away. Don't let him hang on. That's the punch. Right hand underneath. Push him and he falls back. His hands keep dropping. There. He's got to get up. Remember, don't let him get in the middle of the ring. Push him into the ropes. Don't let him breathe. There you go. You got your knockout. 1 second you're a wild man throwing punches, then the referee stops it, and the next thing you're doing is talking to the guy you just tried to kill. But I feel great.
The rematch with Marciano had taken more out of LaStarza than anyone realized. Back in the dressing room, there was no bitterness, only acceptance. Barely able to lift his arms because of ruptured blood vessels, LaStarza looked at Dr. Vincent Nardiello and managed a weary smile. He really busted me up, didn't he, Doc? There was no denying it. I honestly thought I could beat him, LaStarza said, but he honestly showed me I couldn't. For the first time in his career, LaStarza seemed at peace with defeat. The title had slipped away, but at last boxing had rewarded him financially. With some money in his pocket, he indulged a lifelong fascination with aviation, purchasing an open cockpit stunt airplane and spending much of his free time in the skies. His boxing career, however, never regained its earlier momentum. After taking 6 months off, LaStarza returned only to lose to Don Cockle. Defeats to Charlie Norcus and the little-known Cuban Julio Medeiros followed, the latter knocking him down twice before ending matters brutally in the fifth. At just 29 years old, LaStarza announced his retirement. It wouldn't last. Convinced he still had something left, he underwent surgery to remove bone chips from both elbows and began talking openly of another run. A fellow who was an accountant for 15 years doesn't go into television repair work, LaStarza said. It's the same for me. Boxing has been my business for 15 years. It's the only one I've ever been in, so why shouldn't I fight? He returned after nearly 2 years away, winning a pair of tune-up bouts and even calling for a shot at Floyd Patterson. But the comeback never gathered momentum. A split decision loss to journeyman Larry Zernitz made it clear that time had caught up with him. Still unwilling to leave the sport behind, LaStarza mounted one final comeback 2 years later. It proved to be his last. He struggled against opponents who would once have posed little threat. He had to climb off the canvas to stop Ike Thomas, a fighter with only 6 victories in 32 bouts. Then, in May of 1961, 33-year-old LaStarza dropped a decision to Monroe Ratliff. He remained undecided about retirement until he looked across the room and saw his wife crying as she stared at his battered face. That settled it. Roland LaStarza had thrown his final punch. Like so many athletes forced to begin a second life, LaStarza reinvented himself. Hollywood soon discovered that the former heavyweight possessed a natural screen presence. Typecast as a tough guy, he appeared alongside Lee Marvin and Angie Dickinson in Point Blank and became a familiar face on television, most notably in the World War II drama The Gallant Men. Acting became the second chapter of his life. LaStarza turned on the role of Luca Brasi in The Godfather, explaining that Hollywood too often viewed him as nothing more than an unintelligent goon because he had been a fighter. He also declined the lead role in The Outfit, unwilling to play a character whose language he considered excessively vulgar. A heart attack brought his acting career to an end, but not his zest for life. Eventually, LaStarza settled in Florida, where members of his family operated a cattle ranch. Retirement suited him well. He flew airplanes, played pool, read voraciously, and enjoyed the simple pleasures that had always mattered more to him than fame. On September 30th, 2009, LaStarza died at a hospice center in Port Orange, Florida, at the age of 82. He was survived by a son, a daughter, and 5 grandchildren. Boxing history often remembers him simply as another name on Marciano's legendary resume. That tells only part of the story. He never wore the heavyweight crown, but he earned something harder to come by, a life that couldn't be measured by championships alone. The quiet boy who once lived above a Bronx grocery store became a world title challenger, a Hollywood actor, and remained the same decent man he had always been. Roland LaStarza lived a life far richer than any record book could ever capture.